Hi, my name is Terrence. I have a program here on CCTV on Sunday at 6 o'clock. It's a half an hour. I discuss radical politics. An example of radical politics is the difference between what happened here in Boston on the 15th of last month in the marathon and what happened 2 days later in Texas. At the Boston bombing,
Hi, and welcome to tonight's episode of Café con Cas. I am Cassandra. My cup of coffee I've had already. But yeah, I'm here reporting to you live from Cambridge. It has been a really busy day in Cambridge. So I work in Harvard Square, and if you're watching local or national news, there was a really big bomb scare in our local community today, and I'm exhausted, but I was like, all right, let me get my second wind. I'm happy to be here. So that's kind of a little bit of what's going on locally right now. Let's just go straight to emotional check-in. We're gonna go over to, I'm actually going to try some new effects today, a little PMP effect. But yeah, going on this issue of, going on the issue of how my day was, let's just check it out right here. I'm exhausted. This has actually been, here we go, hey! I'm exhausted, as you can see pointed here, and this is a new PMP effect. It's been a really busy day at Harvard. Let's see what else. I actually feel just a little bit cautious. We had a ton of security on campus today, lots of police. Tonight, it was really triggering. Talk about emotions and emotional triggers. I was a first responder when the April bombings happened. I was in my office. I helped evacuate my office. New first responders on the line. So this morning when I got a call from my colleague that, there was a bomb threat down the street from us, it was a little bit scary. So I was frightened today, a little bit suspicious, then a little bit sad today. A lot of emotions today. I was a little bit sad because I said to myself, well, I was talking to my friend. I was like, I don't think I'm going to work today. I wanted a snow day, but I think I got a bomb day, and that's not what I was looking for. And so she had said to me, she actually said, here we go. We were talking about the threat, and she's like, do people have nothing else to do besides threaten other people? So right now, I'm not even sure what the nature of the threat was, what was going on. Homeland Security came to campus. A lot of agents came to campus, and I'm praying that it was a student, and I'm praying that that student has chilled out and understood that sometimes you can fail an exam. So I have exams on Wednesday as well, so let's go back to the cam. Feeling slightly overwhelmed. I know that I do this one often in addition to the happy icon, but it's kind of how I'm feeling. And just a little bit frustrated that I had a lot of really deep moments, deep kind of insights, just figuring out what was going on today. And I just felt this overwhelming need to, address past traumas, also address the globe in general. I wrote on my Facebook today, I said, I hope everybody's safe in every corner of the world. It was definitely a really big life event. And I had people calling me from Puerto Rico. Some people didn't really understand what was going on. I talked to my grandfather, who's a little hard of hearing, and he's like, bomba, yo no gusta eso. And I'm like, I don't like it either, but let's try to figure out what was going on. So I actually pulled up, Harvard University has a really great publication called The Crimson. They have a lot of student journalists, and I just wanted to show you what campus actually looked like today. Here's the Science Center. It was extremely empty. The empty plaza, which is, of course, the Science Center is a huge hub for students, so that was a little bit disconcerting. A lot of officers standing guard. Here's a picture of Emerson Hall, one of the 4 buildings that was evacuated today. This is really close to my building. Here's some closed gates of officers. Sirens, more sirens, bomb squads. Students taking an exam, more officers standing by. They had state troopers coming, severed gate, more, and then students coming back. Students in Annenberg Hall, undergraduate Dean Jane Harris addressing students, which I think was something that was like really, really nice and really, really effective. And so that was my day. I am absolutely exhausted because I had really interesting moments. You know, you're in a professional setting. Obviously, students are upset. But you're also working, you know, professionally. And it was kind of like, you know, I saw little jogging faces, and a lot of people asked me, you know, how are you? How are you doing? And I was confused and I was triggered, and I just tried to, you know, steadily address the fact that this day affected me. You know, this is my third day this year as an employee between the April marathon bombings and the blackout that I've evacuated a building. And that to me is just a little bit scary. So I'm just trying to ground myself, trying to feel good. You know, I had a really great weekend, just trying to get everything kind of together. I had a really great reading in the name of healing. I wanted to bring up existential poet. This is Khalil Gibran. This book goes on my top 10 books. This is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Khalil Gibran was an existential, mystical poet who wrote a lot of amazing pieces. And I actually wanted to pull this up and read this to you because some of the favorite things that I like to do when I'm feeling really distressed, when I'm feeling really nervous, is to really reach out to poetry. And I can openly confess, hey, today was a little bit triggering. I spent the weekend in New York City, in the other motherland of mine, because my parents came from Puerto Rico to New York City and now to New England. It's been the, you know, Boricua migration in my family. And, you know, I just had a lot of feelings even coming back to the city. The city's a big hustle and bustle. And then just to have the day that I had, you know, it's just a matter of like, okay, let me take a deep breath. Let me check in with myself right now. You know, Cassandra, you're safe, you're healthy, you're happy. There's no one here to harm you in this moment. And I just have to kind of remind myself of that. And I also wanted to remind everyone out there of, you know, a really great poet, Khalil Gibran, that often when I'm going through some type of moment, you know, where pain comes up or really uncomfortable feeling, because the trigger, as you know, we talk about emotional triggers, it's an event that triggers, you know, emotional reaction that's similar to, you know, a past trauma that you've been through, a past experience that you've been through. So walking up and down to and from work, I can remember being on the avenue that led to Watertown, where the bombers were eventually captured. Being really close and really involved, just witnessing all the trucks passing and going, that today with every single ambulance passing and going, I had that little stark, like, what's going on? Is something going on? And I just wanted to process that. And in processing that, Khalil Gibran is someone who I really love. And I just wanted to bring up his book. And his book is right here. So I think of what was going on, and then I had this little moment, and I was walking to work, and I had gone in late after, you know, more buildings were cleared. And I just had this moment, and I had this moment while I was walking to work with helicopters flying over my head. I said, oh my goodness. Here I am walking to work feeling really uncomfortable in this moment, but here are so many, there are so many other people across the world, especially in areas of war where Americans have occupied that space, who go to school every single day with guns and soldiers in their face. So it brought up pain. Today brought up some pain. I got nervous myself, and then I thought of like the world that also suffers from violence and acts of threats and acts of terror, you know, acts of fear. And I wanted to read to you from Khalil Gibran, and these are actually his original illustrations. This is a copy from 1969, and it says this. So it says, a woman spoke saying, tell us of pain. And he said, your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, then that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of life? Your pain would not seem less wondrous than joy. And would you accept the lessons of your seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields? And you would watch with serenity through the winters of your grief. Much of your pain is self-chosen. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. For his hand, though heavy and hard, guided by the tender hand of the unseen, and the cup he brings, though it burn your lips, has been fashioned of clay, which the potter has moistened with his own sacred tears. So yeah, this was a really profound excerpt that I was really excited to bring to you, because reading is also healing, and Khalil Gibran has also created some really beautiful art. And I think it's really difficult, and something that I wanted to convey about emotional triggers in general, but I more so specifically address them in relation to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is that a trigger will bring up the feeling that the trauma is like really, really happening. So I had some moments where throughout the day, I had to explain myself, okay, what kind of danger am I right now? How is this moment making me feel uncomfortable? How can I check back to the reality of the moment? And also, how can I express my emotions? So a lot of in expressing those emotions, I said to myself, oh my God, what pain am I feeling here? I'm feeling pains of past tragedies. I'm feeling pains of living in a society that has fear-based. I have pains of when these happen, we automatically think that this may be, an act of terrorism, and it would be an act of a specific group, and then racism comes into play and all these things, and you kind of slowly start snowballing. And so in Khalil's comments about pain, he often writes that not just snowballing, but he writes about some of that pain being chosen by the physician. By no means does that mean that it is deserved. It means that to me, and that's why I love Khalil, because he writes in such an honest, broad way. It means that sometimes the pain, within that pain, you choose the elixir, you choose the healing, you have the choice to say, of this way that I'm feeling, this is how I can revive myself. And I think for me, every time that there is a national event or an event that brings up a lot of fear and unknown facts, I am able to decide to myself, how do I want to be proactive? And I think it always comes back to emotional check-ins. It always comes back to emotional literacy. And I also think part of it is every time something like this happens, instead of hoping that it's a moment that can open up dialogue, I have a lot of pain in the reality that we seem to hush things down. And I know that we hush things down because there's that fine line between what information is released and what can harm citizens. But I think the biggest trigger for me is when we live in this veil of silence. And that really hurts. And I don't think that is something that we can benefit. So I actually had in my folder, and I just wanted to kind of bring this up, there's 2 pieces of art. And through the years, and through certain events, I remember I actually made this piece of artwork in response to, should I show it like this? I'm going to show it like this. I made this piece of artwork in response to Oklahoma City bombings many, many years ago. And it's very Keith Haring inspired. I think I was looking at a lot of Keith Haring as a child. But I also found I didn't think I was an artist for the longest time because I couldn't draw people's faces. So these are the way that I draw people. And it actually says, heal, don't hurt. And I had this carry me on my purse, and I said, when can I bring this? When am I going to show this on .cam? And this just means so much to me because this is honestly how I still feel. And I think this is honestly a message that I just wanted to really, really convey that I don't know whoever did this scare, but obviously there's something that you are scared of, that you had the need to make a lot of people feel terror today across campus. So I implore you to take this message, heal, don't hurt. And I would also implore everybody out there to pick up a pen and paper and also try drawing themselves. Café con Cas, the name of healing, arts, and diversity. I strive to convey 3 things. 1, check in with yourself emotionally. 2, pick up a piece of paper and draw. 3, celebrate diversity, whether by celebrating a friend whose background you're not familiar with, or celebrating cognitive diversity by giving someone the time of day who you don't really understand that well, whether they have a disability or simply a different communication style. So these are some of the messages that I really want to come across. And to kind of bring the 2 messages together, I've also brought here it is closer. So this is a again, this is just the 9-year-old, and I just wanted to tell you and show you, because in my personal life, in my healing journey, I've done a lot of work with, my inner child recently, so that I can heal. And this is a contemporary version of this figure right here. And this was drawn at a time of grief for me. And I had noticed too that there was a connection between the contemporary and the connection between the inner child as well. So that's just something really in my own reflection that really meant a lot to me. And I was showing a friend of mine recently, I was showing her copies of my scrapbook. And in doing copies of my scrapbook, there we go. In doing copies of my scrapbook, I wanted to show her that she can basically create anything she wants, because she was saying, I can't draw. And I said, I started to doodle with the Sharpie, and I really like drawing clouds, like right here. And I was really good since the age of 4, I draw leaves. So through time, it's just been really, really liberating to just take the Sharpie and fill in the shapes and just, as I said, like do this contemporary bridging of 2 parts of my life that include all of me, including like the image that you see in the corner. So I think that's something that I really want to share, especially in the name of healing, scrapbooking, saving memories, and also relieving clutter, because this I found among a ton of other things my mom had saved. And I said to myself, I want to say, I want to keep a part of that self with me. So again, crazy day, crazy time, but we're doing well. We're healing, we're making art, we're making café con gas. So that's kind of a little bit of what was going on, a little bit of the tools I offer, because I don't like bringing bad news, especially in a journalistic manner, without being constructive. So I also wanted to show you guys, and I wanted to thank you. I don't know who's watching on YouTube, but you guys are watching on YouTube. I'm going to just pull up, hold on one second. I'm trying this picture-in-picture thing. Yes. Okay, so maybe you can zoom into it. So I made a little YouTube channel called Café con Gas. I have 83 views on my first episode. Yay! I've been trying really, really hard just to make sure that I have things in a chronology, and I'm just creating and I'm doing things. I always say I'm really involved with the community, but this is something that really excited me because I had some Aussie hits, I had some Saudi Arabian hits, I just had a lot of hits across the board. And on that topic, last show, I had a great clip on the topic of diversity, which, my gosh, when it comes to fear and the history of terrorism in America since 2001 and a lot of dialogue I had, there's been a lot of racism against Muslims in response to the April bombings. My partner at the time was like, I gotta shave my beard. They're gonna think I'm a terrorist. And so I've gotten a lot of responses like that from people really close to me. So on the topic of being on YouTube and, saying thank you so much for, it being involved in the show and watching this show. I also wanted to bring up a video by a fellow YouTuber that I couldn't actually get all of last time because the show ended early and I was just reviewing with Wayne over there in the control room. Show ends at 7:27. So anyways, just to bring it all together, I wanted to bring to you this Aamer Rahman. My gosh, it's like the Indian Bollywood artist. Aamer Rahman. I wanted to show you his clip because I had showed this to a friend of mine who rode the bus with me. I think this is hugely important. It relates to threats, fears, the way we respond to fears, and also racist response to fears. I showed you my artistic response. Now we're going to hop back to Aamer, whose clip got cut off the last episode, and I couldn't take the time to kind of debrief from it. I ended the episode just really abruptly. But I want to show you this clip again because I think it's wildly important. And again, we're friends on Facebook. I was really excited. I'm not dropping celebrity names. However, I am saying that I reached out to him to get his consent because it's also really important on this show. I want to show more videos, but I need to make sure that the artists are okay with that. So Aamer did give the okay. And I'm just going to show this clip again. I ended the last show with that clip, and I just wanted to show you this just to kind of relate all themes of, what's been happening with, what's been happening recently excuse me, and I think, you know, just to chip out away some of that internalized racism that we feel when we address these types of threats or major issues of national security. So without further ado, Aamer Rahman in his comedic clip called Reverse Racism.
A lot of people don't like my comedy. A lot of white people don't like my comedy. A lot of white people say this to me. Hey, Aamer. Hey. You get on stage, you make your jokes about white people. You say white people this, white people that. What if I did something like that, huh? What if I got on stage and I said, yeah, black people are like this, Muslims are like that. You'd probably call me a racist, wouldn't you? And I say, yeah, I would. Yeah, you should never do that. That's bad for your health. They're like, well, you do that, Aamer. You do that, you get on stage, you make your jokes about white people. Don't you think that's a kind of racism? Don't you think that's dun 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 reverse racism? I said no, I don't think that's reverse racism. Not because I think reverse racism doesn't exist, right? If you ask some black and brown people, they'll tell you flat out there is no such thing as reverse racism. I don't agree with that. I think there is such a thing as reverse racism, and I could be a reverse racist if I wanted to. All I would need would be a time machine, right? And what I'd do is I'd get in my time machine, I'd go back in time to before Europe colonized the world, right? And I'd convince the leaders of Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Central and South America to invade and colonize Europe, right? Just occupy them, steal their land and resources, set up some kind of, like, I don't know, trans-Asian slave trade where we exported white people to work on giant rice plantations in China. Just ruin Europe over the course of a couple of centuries so all their descendants would want to migrate out and live in the places where black and brown people come from. But of course, in that time, I'd make sure I set up systems that privilege black and brown people at every conceivable social, political, and economic opportunity. White people would never have any hope of real self-determination. Just every couple of decades, make up some fake war as an excuse to go and bomb them back to the Stone Age and say it's for their own good because their culture's inferior, and then, just for kicks, subject white people to colored people's standards of beauty, so they end up hating the color of their own skin, eyes, and hair. If, after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of that, I got on stage at a comedy show and said, hey, what's the deal with white people? Why can't they dance? That would be reverse racism. Melvin, thank you. You've been great. Good night.
Okay, so that's Aamer. Look at this beautiful YouTube collage in front of me. So yeah, that's Aamer Rahman. I just gotta give him a shout out again. You're amazing. I just feel like downloading that YouTube video, and every time I get into a really serious discussion of like racism, just like show this time and be like, please, someone has done the work for me as a minority and as a woman of color. I can't do it all, and I can't answer all of your questions on racism across all the scopes. So Aamer continues to be a comedic, diverse, beautiful, and also very handsome comedian. So I just wanted to like show that to you guys and just kind of like have that dialogue. I mean, he brings up a lot of intense issues. He brings up the issue of constructs from every possible angle of hurting people. Also, you know, the white definition of beauty. I was just commenting this to Wayne in the control room. He was like contrasting. He's like, is the contrast okay? The focus is on your face okay? And I just told him, I said, you know what? God made me a light-skinned Puerto Rican. I came this way. If you make it darker, you're deceiving the audience. Like, look at my features. And not the lipstick on my face. Look at my features. Race is not just about the color of your skin. These brown eyes, this big nose, these lips, my body, it all came from a beautiful mix of races and cultures, most specifically and most recently from Puerto Rico, and I am the first generation to be born here. So that to me is just a really, really powerful video, really, really powerful representation of what's really going on racially. And I'm not gonna lie, I also watched that video to prep myself, because a part of the things that he addresses, such as the white standard of beauty, such as even just the retaliation of people saying, like, why are you talking about race issues, but you're light-skinned, you know? I almost have watched his video as therapy, and I almost watched his video to just gain some courage. People often explain to me that I'm a courageous woman, but at the same time, I want to get to a point in my life where I can just be like, okay, this doesn't all have to come from me. But I can also have other examples of other, you know, people of color who are really trying to make something happen here, and also, you know, comment on something pretty profound. So, yeah, thank you, Aamer, again. I'm so excited to be dialoguing with you, and as in those like 3 messages we exchanged, but it still meant a lot to me, especially starting this show. And I wanted to actually, we got about a minute left. It just goes by really fast, which is great. I'm already feeling re-energized from this day that I had, so I'm going to really thank the audience right now. You guys are great. Thank you for tuning in. And I quickly wanted to show you something, because we're going to end in 45 seconds. But I'm going to give you a little preview on a community issue that I'm going to talk about next episode. That is, dun dun dun, Airbnb. All right, I got a little crazy there. Airbnb, economy in New York, lucrative, but often illegal. Let's talk about housing. Housing in Cambridge sucks. I'm sorry. Housing, it does. That's how I feel. It's lovely. I live here. I'm a Cambridge resident, but I sublet a room for about $700 a month. I'm really thankful for having found it. But Airbnb, we need to talk about that issue. You need to let yourself know, and you need to Google New York Times Airbnb article, economy in New York, lucrative but often illegal.